Before we get into our other questions, I gotta let people know who we actually speak of. They know, but I gotta put respect on your name if that's okay. Okay.
You do you.
I had to condense your bio because there's a lot of things former 100-meter world record holder, 979, broken by a soft pal, ran 977. Former 60-meter world record holder, and you have that record for over 20 years. Christian Coleman broke it in 2018. You're still tied as the fastest man over 50 meters, though. So Hank might actually have some problems if he tries to do the short stuff with you. In the Olympics in 2000 in Sydney, you got gold in the 100, gold in 2004. You got silver in the 4x100 meters. World championship in 97, gold in the 100. In 99, you did the sprinting triple. You got gold in the 100, the 200, and the 4x1. And in Edmonton 2001, you got gold in the 100. And let's not forget, he's good indoors. 60-meter gold in 1999.
I mean,
yes.
You a bad man. You a bad man.
That's why we had to ask you about this.
It's just hard work.
Yeah.
I can't hear him.
I can't.
It's just hard work. I'm blessed. I'm a very blessed individual. What can I say?
Blessed, yes, but you also had to work hard for it. Like, let's not downplay, because the way you just talked about how every time I came to practice time to put on show, because a lot of times athletes use some races as like, okay, I am training, I am trying to work out some kinks. You said, I know how to run 100 meters. I don't need practice.
Yeah, well, when you become a professional,
mm-hmm.
you get paid to step on the track and go, and people, expect you to go out there and perform. And that's how I took it. It wasn't. It's not like you're in college anymore, and then you have those warm-up meets, and then you want to be ready for NCs. We don't have those things. It's like people pay their money to come and see us, so we have to go out there and give them our best. I mean, we get so little anyway, so why not go out there and give them our best every time we step on the track? So
yeah,
I was just always in that mindset was when I step on the track, I have to show.
Speaking of show, I think that goes right to showmanship of it all, right? I think a lot of times, especially now, the entertainment piece sometimes gets lost. But it wasn't lost on Mo Green.
I feel like you were viral before viral was a thing. And we're gonna pull up this moment because the amount of planning and also the amount of the confidence. No, I'm about to win this race.
And this is coming back from injury, right?
Blew them boys away and what you do?
This race is coming back from injury.
What? Yeah, it was. I had been injured for a little bit, but then, me, and that's Larry Wade that's doing that.
I was gonna ask who that was.
So one day, me and Larry was just driving down the street, and I was like, man, I got to do something, man. This track meet next week is gonna be in our home. I got to do something. I got to make something that's gonna make everybody, make it memorable. Because at that time, you got to realize, like, our sport was getting bashed. We were getting talked about badly because there was a lot of drugs talk and everything else. And I just wanted to change the whole narrative. And as I was driving, I seen an auto parts store there. And I actually made a quick left turn, and Larry was like, what you doing? I was like, man, I'm going to go get a fire extinguisher. When I finish the race, you got to come and spray them out. He was like, dog, that's tight. Let's do it. So it was just some spare of the moment thing that I did. But, I mean, I would say it got everybody talking about track and field for the next 2 weeks. It was on Sports Center for about 2 weeks straight. They were talking about it, and it was in a positive manner too. So that was great.
I when I see that though, I can't help but think like if someone were to try that now, there's probably like the Mo Green rule now. bringing no fire extinguishers out here.
Well, here's the thing. You better run a fire race if you do that. Like, don't be leaning at the line. You got to come through, clearly win it, and then you can get a fire extinguisher.
You obviously put them boys away in that. So.
Yeah. The problem with doing that, though, is now, because I was trying to think of some other stuff. It just wasn't as good.
How do you top that?
There's nowhere to go from there.
Yeah, that's like a legendary moment in track and field. One of the things we were talking about is I think one of the reasons we see a lot of the world records coming down is because we do see these like competition. Because for a long time after you, it was the Bolt show, and I felt like there wasn't a lot of other stars in track and field, and we're seeing now there's more rivalry competition. But let's talk about you and MJ, the track MJ. I gotta get into it because that's something we love about the sport. Is let's see these.
And I genuinely feel like that is something that has been missing, and that's one of the things that I was excited to see at the games in both 400 hurdles races, even the 100 and the 200. The way things are turning out, where it's like not pure domination, but competition. You know, no, we're not scared to race each other. We're gonna show up and show out, and I feel like we need to get back to more of that in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, competition is always good. Boat was so ahead of our time. I mean, he's 6'5" with the same turnover speed as me and covering more ground. I mean, that's just a freak of nature. And now that he's not there, now it's like, okay, who's gonna step up? And because he did so much for so long, and everybody just got used to taking second. Nobody was ever wanting to come up and challenge or anything else. So now, after he's gone, it's like, okay, who's going to do it? But they're so used to sitting back, they're not used to trying to be in front. So that's something that we got to get back to, and we got to get this competition going, and people got to push each other to bring out the best in them.
Well, you just said something because I definitely did not think about that. But
that is like, because if you get used to taking second, you're not used to going for first. That was a
gym.
But I see
like your whole training is different and everything else. Everything changes. Like your training is different. Like, oh well, I ain't gonna beat him anyway, so I don't have to put in as much. Forget that. I got to put in it all every day. I have to be there. That's the mindset you have to go through. It's like, don't just give it to somebody. You got to come and take it.
Exactly.
And is that kind of mentality you had when you were growing up with Michael Johnson?
Well, you were training with dogs too, though. So
yeah.
I mean, it's funny though, because me and Michael Johnson was cool up until the day a reporter asked if I could beat him, and I'm like, yes, I could beat him. Like, I'm not gonna say I can't. That's just not me. I take on all challengers and all challenges. It doesn't matter what it is. I could do whatever I put my mind to. So I just wasn't in the mindset of just allowing somebody to beat me just because they've done something great. You didn't do it against me, so do it against me and let's see what you do.
See, this that fire that's missing. So you say y'all was cool,
shots fired.
Y'all still not cool, or
he said you
look at your message.
I'm cool. I'm cool.
He said I'm cool. He said I'm cool.
I caught that. Tech tried to give us a little diplomacy too, but I respect it. It's a family show.
Okay. Yeah. You know I had to ask.
We gonna ask. So speaking of the greats, like you trained with John Smith, and there was also some legendary athletes that you were training with. So I would imagine that lent to some of why you weren't afraid to go up against the greats, because I mean you were training against the heat.
Yeah, like our training group was fierce. Like some people actually left the track crying sometimes because it's like, man, it's tough out here. I don't know. I mean, some people can make it, some people can't. But I mean, that's just how we brought it every day. But I really live by a saying though. When I was training, I was like, to be number one, you must strive. Oh no, to be my number one, you must train like your number two, always striving to be. Because if you train like your number one, you have no place to go. But if you think about it, that number two person is almost there, but he's not there yet. So
I say, honey.
That's the mentality I had. I gotta keep working. It doesn't matter if I'm number one. I still think there's somebody out there who can come up there and try to beat me, and that's not what I want to happen. So I gotta work just as hard as everybody else.
So me, not know I'm not saying I'm a sprint expert, but what I feel like sets you apart from everyone else is your dry phase.
Let's talk about it.
You're accelerating a lot longer than most people. When you were out there, and I feel like you perfected the dry phase. Can you just break that down? Because
we weren't really hearing too much about a dry phase until Maurice Green, if we're
we're
going to be honest.
Like, did you invent the dry phase? Or maybe you didn't invent it, but you perfected it for sure.
I don't know about perfecting it, but I mean, I was pretty good at it. I'll say that. Basically, it's about being in. It's all about. See, people think the drive phase is just about having your head down, and it's not about that. It's about angles to produce the power that you need to generate the speed. It's I was capable of still driving and not using my top end speed or accelerating to my top end speed, but I'm just able to be right along with everyone else. That's what makes it so unique. So once I start transitioning, start accelerating, everything gets pushed down the track more. So all of my phases is pushed down more. So I'm hitting my top end speed at a later point in the race than everyone else. And it's not like that I'm just pulling away from everybody. It's just everybody else's race pattern had them decelerating at a higher speed than me. And my deceleration at the end of the race was very minimal. And that's why I was.
Because once you get up top out of your drive phase, you can't accelerate anymore. Like, you can hold on for as long as you can, but you're not about to hit another gear. Like, when people say you hit another gear, like, you're not really accelerating.
I think, and Mo, you just broke it down in a way that, like, a lot of non-track and even some track people don't realize, right? Where at the end of any sprint race, really, where it's like, you're not getting faster. At that point of the race, it's who's decelerating the slowest.
Maurice, you have muted yourself.
Mo, you there?
It says guest has muted themselves.
Let me unmute him.
He muted himself.
I think his call might have dropped out.
Oh, like how?
Yeah, we were getting some. Hopefully, let me message him
and. Oh, there he is. Hi.
You there? Okay.
No, he's still muted though.
We might need to.
We were really getting into like
getting into the technicalities, man.
We were getting all the secrets. We were trying to help y'all get your.
All right, we're gonna get him back on. But
you know, he said he was saying something that made a lot of sense earlier, especially when he was talking about Bolt and how Bolt was. We're still in primary. Click just.
What happened? Oh yeah, you're right.
Just push the.
Oh, here you go. Here he is. All right.
Okay.
Here we go.
Back in this thing.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
You were giving out the secrets.
You were giving out the tea, but I was saying that a lot of non-track athletes, people, or maybe even some track people, you drop something that they might not realize, that people think at the end of the sprints it's like who can keep going the fastest or who's going fastest, and it's really who's decelerating the slowest at that point. Nobody's getting faster, but who's slowing down the least. And as
see, I always, especially when I'm training people and things like that, I always tell people, you know, there's two type of athletes. There's a runner and there's a racer. The runner will run fast sometime, but the racer has a plan and he knows what he wants to do, and that's what we have to develop. And let's make up the best plan for you, because your plan might be different than someone else's. So we have to figure out what works best for you, what we can do, when and where in the races, and let's go from that point on.
I feel like you have to be very disciplined in order to do that, because I feel like when you're in a race and you feel everyone else pull up, you want to be like, oh, let me get to running too. And like, I think there's a lot of discipline to be like, no, I'm going to stay in my drive phase, work my angles, and when I come up, I'll be right where I need to be.
Speed.
Yeah,
how are you able to
I think it is discipline, but it comes with the confidence also. because
Thanks.
just because a person is 2 steps ahead of you, that's that person. Okay, don't worry about it. You got to go through your phases and everything else. I remember in '99, if you remember that race in Seville where I stumbled in the final, and I could have just thrown out everything and just ran it, and who knows what would have happened. But I literally thought to myself, I was like, okay, don't panic. Just go through your phases. And as I was accelerating and coming up to my top end speed, I actually told myself, you're going to cut this close. Like, I didn't know for sure if I was going to be able to pull it out or not, but I had to go through my phases and do everything. And I still ran 980 and missed the world record by a hundredth of a second and still was able to win. But if I would have, if I would have threw it out the door and just ran it, who knows if I would have been able to hold on to the end like that. They might have came back and got me at the end. So you got to pay attention to yourself and run your race and stay within yourself.
I feel like you're a coach's dream because you don't know. I mean, I've been around a lot of because you've coached UCLA and you go around a lot of kids and like they're great in practice and then they get in competition and they just say forget the race plan, and for you to trust your race plan even when things go off, that's
Yeah.
that is the mark of a true champion.
I literally got goosebumps because you can like break down to like I stumbled, I had this thought, and then I still went through my phases. I stuck to it, and still came this close to the world record. But I think you're also speaking to what we talk about. We talked a little bit about it earlier about like the famous football speed versus track speed. And one of the things that I was, accounting for when DJ Metcalf, when he stepped down, let me not say step down, when he stepped over to track this summer, one of the things that I was like, you got to account for is lining up next to someone. In the 100, you're getting into the blocks next to your competitors. And
yeah,
I always say, I feel the energy. When we're in those call rooms, you could cut the tension with a knife. And you
yes,
got to stay focused on your lane, what you got going on. You're in your drive phase. You can't react to what this person next to you is doing. The 4x1s, the exchanges, you might see your competitor already out, but you got to wait for your man to hit that. There's so many different layers of like, you got to stay in your own space, but you also do have to be able to race, like you said. So you just tapped on so many little. Just give us some more. Like how like because I always talk about that last few moments, and I line up on a stagger. I don't line up
yeah.
next to everybody, and like keeping your composure and sticking to your drive phase, sticking to the race plan. Like I don't think that's part of the race, as you said, like being a coach's gem. Like people don't realize how important that is.
And I don't think people realize how technical of event the 100 is. People think, oh, it's just 100 meters. You just go out, run as fast as you can,
I say
and
it's a
that's
close
it.
second to the hurdles as far as how technical it is, honestly.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it is very technical. I mean, but see, that's what makes people great, and that's what makes people just good. Is they pay attention to the small details of the race and everything else. Your body position, where your foot placement is, where your arm swing is. All of those things matter. If you have any energy going other than the way you want to go, then that's time given to you. I always say you want to be like a thief in the night. You want to steal every tenth, every hundredth that you can get, but you got to make sure everything is working together, working in the same direction.
And you also ran the 200. But if you had to pick one or two, you picking the one? Picking the two?
Oh, of course, I'm going to pick the one. The two is hard. It's.
No,
I mean,
if you run two, right, it feels like you ran a 400.
Uh, yeah, a little bit, but I mean, you're dealing with the forces. Okay, you're running at your top end speed coming around a turn, and the most difficult part in the 200 is coming off of that turn. I always say the most important part in the 200 is the middle 100 from 50 in the curve and 50 coming off of the straight. Because if you can run that part of it, if that could be the best part of your race, you're going to finish that last 50 with ease. I mean, but those forces that you have coming off of that turn, you trying to stay in, and the forces is pushing you outside to the outer lane. Like man, those that is a very difficult race to perform.
I knew he was going to say 100. I just wanted to get his tips on the 200. I was trying to segue. Okay.
Okay.
Can you see how he broke that down?
Sorry. Well, he got it. He did it.
You got another question to ask?
I do, but I like to show some love to our followers. There was a question. Pam Tyler wants to know if you and Ato are still friends.
Yeah, we still talk. We cool.
Yeah.
That's your old training partner, Tasha.
That
is. Yeah, we trained together. We trained together for so long. So yeah.
How often? Laura Mitchell wants to know, how often do you work on the technical per week, and is it as tough to work on several things at once in your brain? How many things at once?
I get what you're saying.
Get what you're saying.
I would say work on one thing, one thing at a time, because once you start trying to work on 3 or 4 things, you forget one thing. Work on that day of the practice, and then come back the next day, work on something else.
Were you like, when you were doing your workouts though, were you still working like, I'm gonna have proper technique, or you're like, I'm doing some 300 repeats, like I'm just gonna get to the line when I get to the line, how I get there?
No, I'm gonna tell you something. When we were practicing, I was never the fastest in practice. I was probably always like 5th or 6th in practice, but that's because I was always working on something. I'm thinking, I'm working on everything, but then when I get to the race, then it's like, all right, I'm not thinking about nothing. I'm gonna just let it all come out, and hopefully it all works. What I've been working on. So in practice, use that for what it is. Think in practice, work on the things, and try to perfect them in practice, and then hopefully it comes out in the race.
That sounds a lot like when I work with kids and like I'm teaching them drills. I tell them, faster is not always better. It's better you do technically sound, and that's how you'll end up being faster. So that sounds a lot like just doing that like you want to be technically right, and then the fast will take care of itself.
I think what I'm getting from
it's not about how fast you do it, it's about how correct you do it. So then when it's time to go, now you can just go.
I think what I'm gathering from you, like across the board, it's like you're very disciplined and you do things the right way.
Pay attention to detail.
Yes, it's like, where did you get this mentality from? How did you develop this like level of discipline, this level of like attention to detail?
Well, really, John Smith, my coach, made me really pay attention to it. I've only had 2 coaches in my life, Al Hobson and John Smith. Al Hobson taught me how to get there. John Smith taught me how to perfect everything and break it all down. And yeah, I was good before I got to John Smith, but he really wrecked my brain. Like like when I say it was some days people be going home crying, I was that some days. I'm like, my head is about to explode. I don't know if I could take this. I don't know if I could do it. But he challenges you every day and keep you in tune, and you either gonna make it or you not. I mean, that's bottom line.
Yeah. Well, I know you got to get back to class soon, so I just want to wrap it up with one last question. As far as the future of the sport, earlier you touched on, you think Christian is...
It might be 2 questions. What happened?
Christian is the one to look out for, and I believe he'll be back. Is it next year?
Mm-hmm.
He'll be back.
Yeah, he'll be back next year.
Yeah, and so I'm curious, how you feel about Christian Sha'Carri. She's going to be in Prefontaine next weekend. Like, are you excited to see these young talents? I like Sha'Carri. Sha'Carri brings a little spice to the sport that, as I've been talking about,
no, she does, but I just need her to make better decisions. I mean, I understand that you go through things in life, but you have to understand this was one of the biggest times of your life, and you're going to go through some things. You just got to stay straight for just this little bit of time, and then after the season, go do what you want to do. Go have as much fun as you want. But then when you come back, you just have to make better decisions. And I hope somebody gets around her to help her make better decisions, so she won't have any setbacks like this. I think she's going to be a tremendous talent as the time comes. I think it's going to be what the sport needs because she brings a flair to it, and she brings that excitement.
Mm-hmm.
And Christian, you know, if it's any year to miss, this was the best year to miss. As much stuff as went on this year and things like that, but I talk to him from time to time. He's in a good mental space. He's working hard. I think he's going to come back and be really good.
We'll be watching.
And my question is, we talked about the future of track, but the future of Maurice Green. We've seen you on Dancing with the Stars. You've coached at the level. We're coaching at PE. Like, what are you working on now?
What should we be supporting?
When's the book dropping?
No, I'm
dropping. Like, we know.
No, I'm just coaching still. I coach a couple of young athletes who are trying to come up and make the Olympic teams and things like that. You know, I guess I'm just a helpful person. Wherever I'm needed, I go. So.
Well, we're gonna come out with a line of fire extinguishers.
Let's do it.
Green.
Let's do it. Hey, but I almost went to jail for that though because it's illegal to spray a fire extinguisher with
no fire.
The fire marshals came to my house and I'm like, what? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. But yeah, let's.
Do you know why I got excited though? In my mind, I immediately went to the greatest episode of Cops ever.
What you gonna do?
Because who's catching you? The dry face. That's what you're gonna do.
Yeah. I am done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You are a living legend in track and field. We literally had a master class in sprinting today. I feel like now I can get on pop up a little dry face or something. But we appreciate you just taking the time out because you've always been so kind, so nice. My mom says, you know, she's your biggest fan. She likes you more than me, which is kind of hurtful. But we just appreciate you.
Yes. Thank you for joining us, Mo. Thanks for taking the time. Oh, Tyson Gay's in here.
Hi, Tyson.
Oh, Tyson said he has a number. So is that okay for me to share your number with Tyson?
Yeah.
All right. We gonna make
got my number.
Track Girl Summer.
I'll put the number in the chat right now.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Thank you, Mo. And we're gonna have you back on.
All right, anytime.
Thank you.
Anytime. Love y'all.